Hi everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Nina.
And I am the happy Shane. So we're still looking at the happy prince, right? I'm wondering, the prince is going to give money to people in need. He sees there's people who are like suffering or poor and he gives them money.
Yes.
Are you the type who will, like, if someone's begging for money or they want you to buy something from them, will you usually give money?
Obviously, I don't think anyone is perfect and I don't always do it, but I was taught to always try. So for example, in Taiwan, there are these grandmas or grandpas that have these little flowers.
Oh yeah, like the white little flower?
Yeah, they smell really nice.
They're gardenias or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they are, but they smell really nice and they're probably overpriced, but to be honest, it's usually, it's change for us, right? If we're fortunate enough to, have
some pocket change.
Exactly.
Right?
So, even though we don't have much use for it, I think that it's a good deed to, buy one or two from them.
I don't normally give money, but I think that once I saw a documentary about they were trying to find like con artists.
Yeah.
And there was this guy in a wheelchair and he was begging for money all day. And then they followed him later and he went in his wheelchair to the alley and he got inside his Mercedes-Benz.
Wow.
Yeah, and they'd been following him for a while, so they really got to see that this person was actually rich. He wasn't in trouble.
He got rich from begging for money?
I think that's the idea, is he would get a lot of money.
Because a lot of people think that, maybe if I give them money, they might be conning us, like they might be tricking us for money and they don't really need it. But I spoke to my father about this when I was a bit younger and he actually said to me, okay, what is the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is you lose some pocket change. But the best is that you're actually helping someone out a lot.
Right.
So that gave me a little bit of food for thought.
Okay, all right, well, what do you guys think? Let's go ahead and continue with the story in a minute.
The swallow's heart was warmed by this good deed. The following day, the prince had the swallow take one of his sapphire eyes to a man who was too cold to finish writing a play. On the third day, he asked the swallow to remove his other sapphire eye and deliver it to a hard-luck salesgirl. The happy prince was now blind, and the swallow stayed by his side, telling him all he could see in the city. The prince instructed the swallow to remove his gold and give it to the poor. By the time all the gold was stripped away, winter had arrived, and the cold had become too much for the swallow. He kissed the prince and fell dead at his feet. The prince, overcome with sadness, died of a broken heart.
Okay, so we left off with the happy prince asking the swallow to please give a ruby, to fly down and give a ruby to a seamstress in need because she had a sick child, right?
Yeah, so let's see. So the swallow accepted, and let's see how it continues.
Okay.
The swallow's heart was warmed by this good deed. Okay, so we're talking about good deeds earlier, right? And how it's nice to sometimes do good deeds. What is a deed? It's a noun, right? An action that is performed intentionally. So that means you do it on purpose, not by chance.
Okay, so something that you do on purpose.
Exactly. So, for example, you can do a good deed or a bad deed.
Yeah.
So if you intentionally do something bad, that is a bad deed.
Okay.
The king wanted to reward the brave knight for his good deed.
All right, so that's an example sentence.
Yes.
Okay. All right, why don't we continue reading? The following day, the prince had the swallow take one of his sapphire eyes to a man who was too cold to finish writing a play. All right, so he had a ruby and a sword, and his eyes are made of sapphires.
Yes.
Oh, so he had like blue eyes, right? All right, so he's asking the swallow now to go take this to another person in need.
Okay, so someone is very, very cold. They cannot finish writing, maybe doing their job, which is writing a play.
So he would be a playwright, right? That's if he writes plays.
I guess so. Okay.
Okay. On the third day, he asked the swallow to remove his other sapphire eye and deliver it to a hard luck salesgirl.
Hard luck.
Yeah.
That means that person's having good luck or bad luck?
Bad luck.
Yes.
So hard luck means bad luck.
Yes. So maybe she's trying to sell something and she's having a very tough time selling things.
Right. So she's not making any money, so she's poor. So he's basically seeing people who are poor, right? They don't have any money, so he'd like to give them these precious gems
to help them out. Okay. The happy prince was now blind, and the swallow stayed by his side, telling him all he could see in the city. Okay, so the swallow ended up being by the prince's side because he couldn't see anything. So he would tell...
So he was kind of like his eyes now,
Exactly.
Right?
He would tell the prince like, oh, this person over there maybe is suffering. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
The prince instructed the swallow to remove his gold and give it to the poor.
Okay, so he continues to see all of the suffering.
Exactly.
And so, because he's a statue, he's got lots of like precious gems, gold. So he's just removing everything that's valuable.
Yeah.
And giving it to the people in need in the city.
That's so nice.
Oh.
Although I'm curious how the swallow can carry all these heavy gems and gold.
Probably just has to take a lot of trips, right?
Yeah, I mean, depending if it's just one big piece or like many small ones. But yeah.
Okay, so we have the vocabulary word instruct, which is a verb, which basically just means to teach.
Yeah.
Right? So you can also say an instructor.
Oh, like a driving instructor.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a driving teacher.
Exactly.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, so we have an example sentence. The teacher instructed her students to read quietly at their desks.
Okay.
So
that's usually what you get when you're in a classroom, right?
Continue.
Yeah, so continuing the story. By the time all the gold was stripped away, winter had arrived, and the cold had become too much for the swallow. That's exactly what he was worried about, right? He had to go away for the cold weather, but he decided
it's too cold, so a lot of times birds will migrate to a warmer climate.
Yeah, so now he decided to stay because of all of the things that he was helping the prince with, right? Yeah. Let's see how he...
Well, I think maybe he would warm up with all this flying that he's doing. That's a lot of exercise.
Yeah, I mean, he would get tired and he needs to rest and, you know, we'll see. Okay.
He kissed the prince and fell dead at his feet. Wow.
Oh, no.
The prince, overcome with sadness, died of a broken heart. Wow.
Sad.
Wow, so this is like it's called the Happy Prince. So you think the story is going to be like, make you feel happy.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really heartbreaking story.
Yeah, but maybe, you know, the heartbreak is just a very small sacrifice for all of the good that they did, right? So even though, you know, the swallow sacrificed its life, the prince was sad about it. He died of a broken heart. However, you must remember all the other lives that he helped out.
Okay, well, the story goes on. I'm really curious to see how this is going to continue now that they're both dead.
We'll see, right?
Because actually the prince was already dead, right?
Yeah.
So he died again? Can a statue die?
I mean, I guess in this case it would be like stopping the ability of communicating with anyone or any animal.
Right. Okay, it's a fictional story like you said earlier.
So let's find out after the break.
Okay.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在第一天的故事读到，燕子答应王子的恳求，把她的这个剑柄上面红宝石拿去帮助一位女裁缝。那么燕子的心就因为这样的善行而温暖了起来。隔天王子就请求燕子把他一颗蓝宝石眼睛拿去给一位太冷没有办法完成剧本的男子。声音老师这时候就说，那名男子他可能是一位 playwright。Play 后面加上 W-R-I-G-H-T 就可以构成这个字叫剧作家 playwright。好，那么第三天呢，王子又要求燕子取下另一颗蓝宝石眼睛，拿去给一位不幸的女售货员。那现在快乐王子失去2个蓝宝石眼睛嘛，他失明了，燕子就留在他身边，把城里所看到的一切告诉他。那王子就吩咐燕子要取下他的黄金，拿去送给穷人。等到这些黄金都送完拿光之后呢，这个冬天已经到来了。燕子还是没有迁徙到比较温暖的地方，它承受不住寒冷天气。那亲吻王子之后，就在他脚边死去了。悲痛欲绝，王子也是心碎而死亡。好 ，Shane 老师他刚刚用到 migrate 这个字 ，M-I-G-R-A-T-E，migrate 它表示移居或者是指动物的迁徙。那么课文单字它用到 deed 这个字 ，deed 它表示作为或是行为，尤其是指很好或者是很坏的事迹。好，再来看到 instruct Instruct 这个动词呢，它表示指示、吩咐、命令，尤其是指那种正式的那种指示命令。我们在字尾加上 or 构成 instructor， 就可以表达指导员啊、教官或者是教练。那这边5个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 have 当实义动词，它是表达要求、命令。当我们用 have 加上受词，再加原形动词，是指叫点点点做某事。例如She had her son mop the floor. 她叫她儿子拖地。那补充一下，我们也可以用 ask 加受词，再加不定词 to be 去表达说要求或是叫什么什么做某事。那么 ask 是一般动词，所以我们在受词后面是要接 to be 不定词。例如 My mom asked me to take out the trash. 我妈妈叫我倒垃圾。好，那么下一个重点是 to 形容词或是副词，再加不定词 to be。那么第一个 to 是 too， 第二个 to 是 to， 这样的句型是表达太怎么样而无法做某事。那么不定词 to be 的前面呢，也可以加上 for somebody 来表达对某人来说太怎么样了。例如 The job offer was too good for him to refuse。那个工作机会太好了，对他来说好到令他无法拒绝。下一个重点是 by the time， 它是引导时间副词子句，表示到点点点的时候，到点点点之前。那这可以用来指过去或未来的情况。那我们分别来讲解。描述过去情况的话，副词子句是用过去简单式，主要子句你可以用过去简单式，或者是用过去完成式来强调动作已经完成。例如 By the time we got there, the show had already begun. 我们到的时候，表演已经开始了。这边我们用到过去完成式。描述未来情况的话呢，副词子句是用现在式而不是未来式。那么主要子句你可以用未来简单式或是未来完成式去强调这个动作预计将会完成。例如 By the time you come back, I will have finished my homework. 等到你回来时，我就已经写完回家作业咯。那这边就是用未来完成式，预计将会写完这样。好，下一个重点是动词 overcome， 它可以指情感上受到强烈影响，常常用被动语态 be overcome 加上 by 或是 with 再加情绪名词，可能像是 grief 悲痛、joy happiness 喜悦快乐等等，去表达深感怎么样，不生怎么样怎么样。那么 overcome 的三态是 overcome, overcame, overcome。举例来说 Kevin was overcome with grief after his wife passed away. Kevin 在妻子过世之后悲痛不已。再看下一个重点是 die of something， 它是指因为什么而死，死于点点点。例如 His wife died of lung cancer 2 years ago， 他的妻子2年前死于肺癌。好，接回课文中。
The city's mayor decided to melt the ugly statue down and make a statue of himself from it. The prince's lead heart didn't melt, though, so it was thrown away along with the body of the swallow. When God asked one of his angels to retrieve the most precious things from the city, the angel came back with the swallow and the heart. God rewarded both the swallow and the prince with eternal happiness in heaven.
All right, so we are continuing. Basically now we have a dead prince, which became a statue, and now he has died again.
Yeah, and then the swallow who died because he was too cold. He didn't get to leave because of the cold, right? Is that right?
He wasn't able to migrate, so he died because of basically it was winter time.
Yeah, that's such a shame.
Wow. Okay, so let's see what happens now. The city's mayor decided to melt the ugly statue down and make a statue of himself from it.
Oh, come on. Is that necessary? Would you ever make a statue of yourself?
Oh, I don't, yeah, I guess it's pretty bad to make it of yourself, to tell people I want a statue of me. But if someone wanted to make a statue of me, I think
you wouldn't say no, right?
I don't think I would say no.
Yeah, same, but like to be like, I want a statue of myself.
You have to be pretty egotistical, right? Have a pretty big ego if you want to have your own statue and you build a statue of yourself.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've seen that like in some TV show. a person that had a statue of themselves in their backyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's just ridiculous.
Oh, well, to each their own, I suppose. So he wanted to melt the princess statue and then make his own, right? So the word melt is a verb. It means to change or dissolve something from solid to liquid by heating it.
Right. So normally that's what we think of. We just something is solid, and then you add heat, like you burn it, and then it just starts to turn into a liquid.
Exactly. So, for example, when ice melts, it goes from solid to liquid, right?
Right.
So another example would be the worker melted the gold down and poured it into a large pot. Okay. So maybe usually they would melt a big piece of gold and then pour it and use the liquid to get it into a different kind of shape.
Right, yeah, then you could form it after it's been melted into something else.
All right, so continuing the story, the prince's lead heart didn't melt though. So it was thrown away along with the body of the swallow.
Okay, so maybe the lead couldn't melt because it's like it needs a higher temperature or something. Okay, so they just throw it away. So
with
they
the
just
body of the swallow.
I guess, yeah, I think if you see a dead bird and it's not your bird, you're probably not going to bury it, right?
Yeah, and at least maybe part of the prince was with a swallow. Let's read more.
Okay.
When God asked one of his angels to retrieve the most precious things from the city, the angel came back with a swallow and the heart.
That's really sweet. So out of all of these things that are in the city, right, we know there's rubies and there's gold and there's sapphires.
Yeah.
But when God wanted the angels to bring back the most valuable things, it was actually the
heart,
the lead heart, which is really not that valuable, and a dead swallow.
Yeah, that means a lot, right? They are very precious because they did all these good deeds.
Right, okay. So God rewarded both the swallow and the prince with eternal happiness in heaven. So they got a reward for their good deeds.
Okay, so what is a reward?
So a reward basically is something that you get for doing something, usually an achievement, or doing something good, you will get a reward.
Okay,
so to be rewarded with something means that you get a reward.
Yeah, so for example, if you get first place in a race, then you get rewarded with a medal or a trophy.
Or sometimes someone loses a pet. You will see that there's they'll say there's a reward for
10,000
NT if you return my happy bird, or something like that.
Yeah, or my lost cat, something.
Okay. So the example sentence, the head of the company rewarded his best saleswoman with a new car.
Oh, that's a really nice reward, isn't it? I'd like a new car.
That's just like a pretty big reward.
Okay, maybe she's a saleswoman, right? Maybe she sold a lot of cars and it was easy for them to give her a car.
Okay, so now we have what do you think?
Okay, how does this story relate to modern times? Shane, how would you say that it relates to modern times?
Well, I would say the story relates to modern times in that I think that even now, just like back then, there's people who have a lot of, you're born with good luck, basically, right?
With a lot of money, maybe.
Yeah, so maybe you're born into a good family, you have lots of privileges, and you don't really see or you don't get to witness the suffering and the difficult times that other people are having in society.
Exactly.
And you're just kind of blind to that.
Yeah, or maybe you see it, but you don't really know how it feels, right?
Yeah, so I think in modern times, I mean, more than ever, we kind of think that we look back on those times and you think of a village or something, you think everybody's poor there. It's like kind of easy to think like, well, I can understand people needed help. But like in Taipei or something like that, you don't think there's a lot of poor people, so you don't really feel like you don't need help.
Yeah.
But in fact, that's just because you yourself are in a privileged position. And if you look carefully, you're going to see there are people in need.
Yeah, that's very true.
And to donate money, or like you do, you help out people who are asking you to buy something from them. These kind of good deeds are going to make you feel good and make society better.
Indeed, and it's something that's small that we can all do, but together I think that everything makes a difference, right?
Yeah, kind of like your dad said. Well, the worst thing that happens is you just, you lose a few coins, but the best thing that can happen is you could really maybe even save somebody's life.
Yeah, save someone's life, or even just give them a good day, like that. makes a big difference to people's lives.
I think it's just, yeah, this kind of giving, right? It creates like a virtuous circle.
Yes.
Like good things will just keep happening and happening.
I agree.
Okay, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you for
joining us
listening, watching, and hopefully you've learned something.
All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
好，故事接着写到，市长决定把那一尊雕像熔掉，然后拿来做一尊自己的雕像。但是王子的这个铅做的这个心呢，并没有融化，所以连同燕子的尸体被扔掉了。那么当上帝要他一名天使去取回城里面最珍贵的东西时，天使是带着燕子和这颗心回来。那么上帝就用天堂里面永恒的幸福来奖赏燕子还有王子。我们来看单字 melt。Melt 它可以表达融化，使什么融化的意思。那么 reward 在这边当动词，表示奖赏报答。Nina 老师之所以用到 trophy 这个字 ，trophy，trophy 可以表达奖杯、讲座或是战利品。那么最后补充一下 ，Shane 老师刚刚用到 egotistical 来描述市长，这是拼作 egotistical，egotistical 是形容自大的、自负的。那么其中的这个 ego 可以当名词 ego 表示自我中心、自尊心的意思。老师还提到说，享有特权的人往往难以体会弱势者的处境。如果人们可以多做一些善行，也许还会产生这种良性的循环。我们来补充一下 privileged 这个字是拼作 privileged，privileged 它是形容特许的或是享有特权的。还有提到 virtuous circle 表示良性循环，那么其中的 virtuous 它是拼作 virtuous， 那这个字可以形容是道德高尚的、拥有美德的或是有德性的。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
The swallow's heart was warmed by this good deed. The following day, the prince had the swallow take one of his sapphire eyes to a man who was too cold to finish writing a play. On the third day, he asked the swallow to remove his other sapphire eye and deliver it to a hard-luck salesgirl. The happy prince was now blind, and the swallow stayed by his side, telling him all he could see in the city. The prince instructed the swallow to remove his gold and give it to the poor. By the time all the gold was stripped away, winter had arrived, and the cold had become too much for the swallow. He kissed the prince and fell dead at his feet. The prince, overcome with sadness, died of a broken heart. The city's mayor decided to melt the ugly statue down and make a statue of himself from it. The prince's lead heart didn't melt, though, so it was thrown away along with the body of the swallow. When God asked one of his angels to retrieve the most precious things from the city, the angel came back with the swallow and the heart. God rewarded both the swallow and the prince with eternal happiness in heaven.
Hello, I'm Matt. And I'm Stephen. Today we're playing Guess the Bear. We each have 3 cards with sentences with the vocabulary words replaced with the word bear, and we'll each have 1 minute to guess what those words are. So are you ready, Stephen? I'll read yours first.
I'm ready.
All right, well, we got 1 minute on the clock.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, your first one is a verb.
Okay.
Bear the cheese over the pasta. The ice cube bared quickly in the sun.
Melt.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, next one is a verb, 1 word again. The dog ran into the lake to bear the ball. Computers allow you to bear information.
Retrieve.
Excellent, got it. Next one is a
okay.
3-word phrase.
Oh no, I hate these. Okay.
Bear, 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 we arrived. The train had already left. The party was over. Bear, 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 he showed up.
Bear, bear. I'm sorry, can you read it again?
Bear, 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 we arrived. The train had already left. The party was over. Bear, 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 he showed up.
I would say it's by the time.
You got it. That's all 3.
Mine were really, really easy.
Those were the first 2 were definitely easy.
The
third one.
The first one I was gonna say like sprinkle because you said cheese, and then The second one, what was the second one you gave me?
You had retrieve, melt, and yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, the second one was ice cubes. You're not gonna sprinkle an ice cube.
So then when I heard ice cube, I was like, okay, now I
Yeah.
know. All right, so it's your turn. All
my
right,
turn.
ready, start the timer. Okay, this is a verb, one word. He was bared for finding the lost dog. Number 2, we bared the children with candy.
Reward?
Nice, good. Okay, this is a noun, one word. Number 1, doing good bears can make you feel good. Number 2, he was known for his charitable bears.
What is that word? Good deeds?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, it is
Good job.
deeds.
Okay, this is verb, one word. How come he doesn't have phrases? Okay, number 1, the teacher bared her students well. Number 2, I can bear you on how to use the computer.
I can bear you. Can you read those again?
Number 1, the teacher bared her students well. Number 2, I can bear you on how to use the computer.
Bear you on how to use the computer. I can not teach you, but something on.
Oh, time's up. It was instruct.
Instruct.
Yeah,
okay.
I know, that word is really hard to think of. Okay, number 1, the teacher instructed her students well. Number 2, I can instruct you on how to use the computer. Because I feel like instruct, even though we all know that means teach, we don't use it as much as teach.
That's right. I immedially go to teach, and
Yeah.
then I was like, but it's not going to be the teacher taught.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't. I knew it wasn't that, but I didn't know where to go with it.
Like instruction.
Yeah.
It's hard to think
Using
of.
computer.
I'm just making you feel better for losing.
See you next time.